Hi, my name is Laura Powell, and I serve on the Woodstock Select Board, and I'm here with,
Charlie Kimbell. I'm the state representative representing Woodstock, Reading, and Plymouth.
and today we're going to talk to you about some things going on at the state and the town level. We've done this video once before where we ask each other questions about topics that are going on both in Montpelier and in Woodstock because we each represent each other. So I will start off. Charlie, there's been a lot of talk about the redistricting task force, education redistricting task force this summer. I'd love to know, is there an update from them, where their work is at right now, and what you can expect when you get back into session?
Yes, so the school district redistricting task force has 11 members, and they are charged with making recommendations to the legislature, coming up with a recommendation in December of at least 3 different proposed configurations of new school districts. Remember, this was a large initiative from Act 73 to reduce the number of school districts from 119. The governor proposed going to 5, and the districting task force is looking at a variety of different options. So they've come up with one so far, which is organizing around the career and technical education centers. They've already abandoned the idea of whether or not to organize by county, and they'll be coming up with 2 other recommendations in December. That's their charge. They're really struggling with the amount of data that they want to review as to what is relevant, what's not relevant, and then to figure out what is the best for both the equitability or equity of education opportunities for students across the state, what is affordable from the standpoint of taxpayers, and then what really makes the most sense for our community. So they're really dealing with those 3. So anyway, they make the recommendations in December, and there are a number of other committees that are meeting also. One is on school construction financing and trying to make that recommendation for December as well. So when they make the recommendation, it goes to the legislature, and the legislature will deliberate it and then come up with a vote. So it's not like their recommendation is set in stone. No. It's open to debate. So the legislature will then have people from the commission come in and give testimony as to why this map or that map, and that's when it becomes pretty locally oriented. How will this affect my school? There's been a lot of discussions in the Woodstock area about Mountain View's school district talking to Hartford and talking to Windsor about, will we be in one district? Well, the district's goal is to have like 4,000 to 8,000 students in each district. That's really hard in rural areas like where we are. So it's probably not possible. So the district between Mountain View's Hartford and Windsor is not nearly 4,000 students. It's probably never going to get there. Does it make sense? I think it makes a lot of sense for our district to get out in front of this discussion to say, listen, we're doing what we can to make sure we're offering great educational opportunities. We're going to take advantage of the campuses we have. Campuses meaning, what's our high school, what's our middle school, what are our elementary schools, what's the configuration of those in anticipation of maybe some larger district down the road. So we have this, the Mountain View School District went on a very aggressive public relations campaign about calling a special session of the legislature to talk about decoupling construction finance from the per pupil spending calculations as it relates to excess spending threshold. And there won't be a special session of the legislature to consider that. It has raised the issue of whether or not it makes sense to decouple that spending, and it does. So I'll be working on legislation to introduce legislation in January around that. But when we have so much up in the air, we have the foundation formulas to how to pay for education. We have the districting task force. We have a new tax system and all that kind of stuff for education. So there's a lot that's still in the air. So I think it's really great, even in that midst of uncertainty, for our school district to be actively in discussions with other school districts about how can we really use one another's facilities and each other. So that's great.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I guess a follow-up would be knowing that session starts in January and then crossover usually happens in March. After town meeting. You expect to have a lot of public input and make these bills workable with the public like around that time. So people should be reaching out to you with their input once they once you guys are in session.
Yeah, and it's really hard right now. We don't have a proposal really to react to. The one that was around CTEs actually aligned Pittsfield and Plymouth with the Rutland side of the Green Mountains instead of with the eastern side with Mountain Views. So that was different.
Yeah.
So is there a lot to react to that? It's like, not yet. That doesn't necessarily make sense, and that all has to then go through the legislature. So yes, when there's some good information to respond to, I would love to be in discussions. I've set up a schedule, I haven't announced it yet, of really listening sessions both in Plymouth and in Woodstock and Reading. So to be open to talk to people about that. So look for that in the upcoming weeks.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that there's a committee that's meeting to restart the school construction fund as well.
Yeah.
You expect they will have a revenue source identified this session?
Well, that's a great question. You know, everybody's looking for that dedicated revenue source, whether it's for education or whether it's for housing, and it makes sense. But yes, they're trying to figure out what makes sense in terms of how do you, the one thing they were looking at their last meeting, I just read through their minutes, was what do other states do or what could we do in terms of taking over all of the debt that the school districts have? What's been the practice? And the state really can't just take over all school debt for the construction of different buildings without hurting the state's overall credit rating. Right. And then it makes it more expensive to borrow. So there's some real nuances in trying to figure that out. And that's what they're looking at, is to whether or not to figure out whether or not to adopt the Rhode Island method, which is to pay debt service down, what funding source to do that instead of taking over obligations at the state level for that debt service. So it's still they're supposed to come up with a recommendation end of December. The state treasurer is on that committee, so is the head of the Vermont Bond Bank. And there are 4 legislative appointees, not legislators. So it's a really intelligent group that's looking at that with a lot more experience than I have in looking at that stuff. So look for that in December.
Awesome.
So Laura, it's my turn to ask you. So latest news is that the town is going to go out to a bond vote for the new wastewater treatment facility. Now, I know this has been in discussions for a long time. If anybody is wondering, the wastewater treatment facility is on the east end of town. It's behind a huge berm that was constructed, I think, by the Army Corps of Engineers.
In the 70s,
yeah. And so this is a new treatment facility. What's different about this? Why do we need it?
Sure. As you mentioned, it's right behind us on Maxim Meadow Way. If you have never been there, we will be having public tours as a part of this campaign. It's one of 3 facilities. We have one in Tassville and one in South Woodstock. The main wastewater treatment plant, we're going to bond for it and have been in discussions about the renovations and upgrade of it since we knew the state has been changing their permitting thresholds for the compounds we release into the river. So as a part of our wastewater treatment, we release things like phosphorus and nitrogen back into the Ottauquechee River. Right now, our state permit for the current thresholds expires next October. And it is increasingly hard for the technology that we've had existing in the wastewater treatment plant to continue to meet what will be the new state thresholds. So we're undertaking a renovation and some upgrades with Hoyle Tanner. It's an engineering firm. And we're going to have a new biological process, which is a new way the wastewater is broken down. It's called aerobic granular sludge. And so we're going to be talking a lot about it. But it also allows for different things. Right now, we treat the wastewater with chlorine. We have a chlorine tank. That's something that we won't need in the new plant. We'll have a UV filtration tank. So there's like a few upgrades. Thankfully, wastewater technology has come a long way in the past 30 years. And so hopefully implementing it will mean reduced footprint, reduced construction costs, reduced energy for the plant moving forward. But yeah, we're excited to launch a public education campaign about sludge and wastewater treatment for March.
So what's the effluent look like? I mean, I remember back when we used to spread sludge out on the fields, even over by the river, and some of that then leaches into the river. So that was not good.
Right.
And that's not allowed anymore.
Right.
So what's going on with this effluent? Can we drink it?
I mean, it's going back in the river. It's going to have very strict standards that the state enforces for us to meet. And the wastewater treatment staff that we have are amazing. They're constantly undergoing continuing education training to stay on top of what the newest technology is. And they've been able to, like many things, I think, work with what they have and make it workable. But yeah, I mean, I think folks will be shocked when they go down there to see kind of like what the sludge looks like, what it smells like when it's dewatered. But this process, it's my understanding that the aerobic granular sludge has less of an opportunity based on the biological process for it to be as odorous as what we currently do, which is activated sludge.
So it won't be as much stink.
Fingers crossed.
Okay, so let's talk money. How much money are we talking about?
I think the last estimate we had, and try not to hold me to it, is roughly $35 million over a 30-year bond term.
Okay.
So we'll be talking a lot with the public about allocation, how to leverage grant funding. We're lucky enough to have our shared energy coordinator, Harry Falconer from Two Rivers, who got us in line for congressionally directed spending.
Yes.
Is that what it's called?
The old earmarks.
The old earmarks. And so we'll see if that comes through. That was a request for, I think, close to $1 million. And there's other grant opportunities that I think we're going to look into. We also have, as you know, a new infrastructure fund funded by our new local option sales tax. And so we'll be looking to hopefully, maybe, depending on what the board decides, allocate some of those funds to the debt service as well.
That's great. Well, Falconer was also able to obtain a grant, where the town was, through his efforts, to help defray some of the costs of the water system improvements, right?
Yeah, it's been that role has been really wonderful for the town. We're one of, I think, 8 towns that pays into this role that we share to help manage how we're initially, I think, like how we're conserving like energy, but he's been wonderful at finding grants for us and executing them. So we're really grateful.
Yeah. All right. Terrific. All right. Your turn.
My turn. So last time we talked, you had a laundry list of health care and health insurance related bills that had passed.
Yeah.
I'm curious, there's been a lot of news this summer about health insurance providers being dropped in Vermont, and what the average Vermont resident can kind of expect to see either as a result of these bills that are hopefully capping some hospital prices or drug prices versus what we're contending with in a rural area, which is, the cost of coverage, which continues to go up.
There's a few things. I mean, we first have to acknowledge that in December, January, we'll start to see the loss of premiums and tax credits for health insurance premiums for insurance because of the bill that was passed by Congress earlier this year. And that's really one of the main reasons why there's a government shutdown right now at the federal level. To contest that, to say we need to have those premiums back in to help people afford their health insurance. So the concern is that up to 45,000 Vermonters could lose their health insurance in this. So that's big. But even in that context, then we have to think about what did the legislature do locally. One is to institute something called reference-based pricing. And that is to make sure any procedure that you have is then compared against what the Medicare reimbursable rate is. So if a hospital can justify, or a medical facility can justify a reimbursement at a certain rate for someone on Medicare, then why doesn't it apply to private insurance? There's a whole cost-shifting argument that has to be considered in there, but that's a big thing that could save individuals and insurers a ton of money. Another is allowing hospitals to negotiate directly on drug prices instead of having to go through a broker. So I will mess up the terms if I try to say them directly, except when I was in Springfield a few weeks ago and speaking with somebody from the Springfield Hospital, they were going to be saving $300,000 per month.
Wow.
And being able to negotiate directly on drug prices for those drugs that have to be administered on site. Some of them, maybe it's chemotherapy or other drugs. So that's significant. Now, what the hospital does with that, it may then be able to lower prices or maybe even sustain their financial footing, because so many of our rural hospitals are really fragile. There's just not enough of a customer base for volume, and it's expensive. So those are a few. One is the Medicare Advantage premiums. There's a concern about what's happened with some individual plans, but if you're already in a group plan, then you don't stand to lose that insurance program. Again, I don't know the details of that. I focus on tax policy more, to be honest. But those are some of the things that are looking at. Now, that doesn't necessarily lower the price of health insurance. Major concerns still. And you have to look at what are we doing for overall health care.
Right.
I would love to see that on a national level we say this is a national priority, that health care is a right and not tied to your employment. And recently I had a change in my own job, and so my now health premium is $2,000 a month for just 2 people, and we're very healthy. Yeah. And then plus the deductible, so we're looking at $40,000 for health care on an annual basis. That is not affordable. So no, we need a better solution. We need the political will to actually do that on a national level.
Love to hear it.
So, all right, see what else is going on in town. So we've got a lot of interesting new businesses opening too.
Yes,
we've got Ranch Cam that just opened.
Yep.
There was an article in a trade publication about that. Helped really identify Woodstock as a mountain bike destination.
Yeah.
Really pretty cool. We've got Farmer in the Bell that just opened, and it's overwhelmed every day that they're open, a waiting line.
The East End is having a moment, which we love to see.
We've got a new restaurant that's opening in the former Bentley space.
Yep.
It looks like Positive Pie, a pizza shop is opening there. So there's some exciting things going on.
There's so many good things happening in Woodstock, truly. I can't believe it some days. We're really lucky to have this flood of new business. And also to your point, I think identifying Woodstock as a destination for the residents and for our guests in terms of mountain biking and something other than, coming to the village or just the winter sports. It's really exciting to see, which actually brings me to the thing I wanted to talk about, which is the Vodel Cobb Reservoir.
Yes.
As you know,
good segue.
Thank you. Wamba, Woodstock Area Mountain Bike Association, has many trails that they've created and maintained up on that property. For those who are just catching up, we had a public vote last year to acquire 360 acres up there on Cox District Road, kind of as a part of our acquisition of the water company. And we're trying to navigate with the community what our long-term vision is for that land. I think it's fair to say that we've been really pleased and will continue to hope that we see things like the ways it's used now in recreation. Folks can walk up there, hike up there, go on a boat on the reservoir. It's stocked with trout at times, I've been told.
I did not know that.
And obviously mountain bike and snowmobile and hunt and kind of some other things. But the select board has been, Susan Ford especially, has been investigating a conservation easement with Vermont Land Trust that would there's various options on the table, conserve most of the land or all of the land in a conservation easement. And what that means is restricting the land in its use forever, permanently, independent of who owns it. And if that's something that the residents and community want to do, it would be in exchange for a grant from the Vermont
Housing Conservation Board.
Thank you.
Yeah.
VHCB. And we've also had some folks come forward who would like to privately fundraise also to see this happen. So we're going to be going on a listening tour over the next few weeks, the select board is. And so I would just keep your eyes peeled in the listserv for the dates and locations for those meetings. But we definitely want to hear from folks about how to, what they want to do with the Vondel moving forward.
Well, it's terrific. Well, as a mountain biker, I love the trails that are up there, and I know that Wamba has put in some new trails that are just outstanding. Stuff that make me a little nervous because I like to keep both wheels on the ground. But it's been great to again catch up with you with Woodstock Community Television, and I think we're running out of time.
I think so, but where can people reach us?
Where can they reach us? They can reach me by telephone. Reach out to me anytime. Cell phone works, 802-296-1276. just give me a call or email me at kbellvt@gmail.com. I've got like so many email addresses, but that one works.
We all do. We all
Yeah,
have
yeah.
too many.
And how about yourself?
You can reach me at my town email, lpowell@townofwoodstock.org is the best way. But I'm also in, you can reach me by phone too if you have my number.
And look for the announcement of the upcoming listening tours on legislative issues, the updates from Montpelier. So I'll be doing those in person at coffee shops, restaurants, and at the tailgate of my pickup truck. So.
And if you haven't been to the Vodel yet, you really should check it out. It's worth seeing.
Fantastic.
For everybody.
All right. Charlie Kimbell, Laura Powell, over and out.